that they put the correct address, his personal property, and the wrong legal description. They put the legal description for the house that belongs to him and his brothers. So you'd think, okay, this is a legitimate administrative mistake. So let's call the solar panel company. Let's tell them, hey, y'all put the wrong legal description because they do it through the county, and they won't do it. So they've called, they've emailed dozens of times. The wife has, I have, the brother has, and then finally they had to get an attorney involved in all of this. And anyway, lesson learned here for everybody dealing with solar panels. Those companies are slimy as fuck. So you got to really watch what they do. And if you're doing solar panels, you better make sure you research the companies. And also this company had been bought out by another one. So then, they're claiming, well, we're just trying to get everything back. I mean, it has been crazy going on for months now. So anyway, this is we're almost there, guys. There's my win. We're almost there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear, like, while we're kind of having today's calls about schedule and time management. And, we're realtors, so we still got some people showing up to the call, and but it would be cool to open that up. Anybody have any other experiences with solar panels? You feel the same way, or you had any good experiences with them?
And we had a nasty one with solar panels. Guy, a very good salesman talked my client, not even a client because he didn't end up doing anything because he couldn't, but into a $48,000 loan for solar panels. He told him that it'll add value to your house when you're going to sell, all the BS. Well, 2 years later, this guy gets in a bind, has to sell, can't. He's completely upside down. Calls thinking, can I refinance? Can I do anything? And basically, they're like, yeah, you've got to pay off the solar panels to sell. He can't do it. So now he's stuck in a home that he doesn't want, that he can't take care of and can't afford. Yeah, I've made a post on my neighborhood page. Like, look, 99% of the time, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And there are very unique situations. But the big thing is, you need to be willing to pay that off. If you finance those for 30 years, you are setting yourself up for abject pain. And these salespeople are really good. They're really good. They'll tell you they're free. They figured it out where they can say, look, with the savings, it's free. Well, it's not free if you have to get rid of the house. I got to pay these things off. Yeah, I think it's nasty business, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Nicole McClure and our team had a deal where we didn't, it was our buyer, and we didn't find out until we were like close to closing that the sellers had solar panels, and we tried everything. The sellers and their agent tried everything to get the company to release the lien, that the people would sign a personal note, and nothing. I did talk to Aubrey. Is Aubrey on this call today?
no.
A couple years ago, I had a customer that reached out to me that had a house to sell, and they had put these solar panels on. It wasn't, I think in their case, it was like 17,000 maybe. And I remember posting something on the EXP Cincy Facebook page and asking the question. And I'm pretty sure it was Aubrey that told me that she had a situation where she sold a house with the solar panels, and the appraiser increased the value because the solar panels in the appraisal came out okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm almost certain it was Aubrey that said that. So I was kind of surprised by that. But I don't know how expensive was the house your guy was selling, TJ, but 48,000 sounds really high.
Yeah, this was about a $375,000 home.
Yeah, we're talking 10% of the home's value was, or no,
Yeah.
15% almost is wrapped up in solar panels.
On a crappy old roof, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and that's how you got to look at this, logistically. If you're financing these panels over the lifespan of the panel, I don't know what those payments are on $48,000 worth of solar panels, but you can't be saving that much money over and above what you would be paying for electricity. And then by the time you pay them off, you got to put new ones on there. And then then you got to get somebody up on your roof to clean the damn things, because if they're dusty or dirty or covered with something, then they're not really providing the electricity that you need anyway. So this is a great education point. If you guys are looking for a post, if you do any sort of social media stuff, do a little research, talk to some people, get some testimonials, use these testimonials from this call, and just say, hey, pros and cons of getting solar panels. If you or your parents are thinking about putting solar panels on your house, like, might want to weigh this out. Let's get cracking. Welcome to the Momentum Call, 10 a.m. on Monday. We're kind of going through some wins. Amber considered solar panels, kind of churning through that process and getting to the finish line here, or close to it, is a win. Our team sold our new listing on Saturday. I think we were on the market for a couple of days and got that one under contract. So I'm pumped about that. What other wins you guys have for the last week or so?
Put a house on the market in my neighborhood on Tuesday, late Tuesday. I had probably 14 showings over a day and a half and had 5 offers, and the house was 470. It was not a cheap house. I had 5 offers with prices all the way up to 500,000.
Nice. And you put it on a Tuesday?
Yep.
And you didn't
I
have to
do
work?
on Tuesday.
You didn't have to
I
work
like
on
to
the
do
weekend.
Tuesday. Exactly. I like to do Tuesday because what I tell my sellers is it gives it time to get out to all the portals, and then people can start scheduling their appointments for the weekend. And we were going to do an open house on Saturday, so it would give us time to get the marketing out there for the open house.
That's awesome. Yeah, we advertised an open house on our listing, and the buyer that made the offer made a really good offer, and they put the deadline right before our open house started because they didn't want the open house to happen. And it's like, even if you hate doing open houses, market the open house because it creates urgency. It makes people make a good offer. I love it.
Yeah.
Anna's not going to speak up, so I'll share a win there. I know she's not going to talk. But we had a win last week. We've been working with a group in a certain niche market. I won't go into details on it, but certain niche market, and it's really tough to get into the people who are like the gatekeepers of this market. And we've been really diligently and consistently working on this niche for 2 years, and we finally got the invite. We're in the inner circle of this niche now. So once we get like advertised and everything gets announced and stuff like that, we'll share more. But kudos for consistency. And Anna she was the front runner on that. She showed up every single week, every 2 weeks, and just kept churning on it. So good for you, Anna. Any other wins? All right. I'm going to share a quote with you guys. And I wore this shirt today. This shirt, I got this shirt on January 31st. It was part of like a weightlifting thing that I did. But the reason I bought the shirt is because the guy who owned the gym that I was at that day, he was wearing the shirt. And it had a saying on the back of the shirt, which is today's quote, that I use all the freaking time. And the quote is, I don't know if you guys can read that. It's a little fast. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if you show up late everywhere you go, that's probably just how life's going to go for you. You're going to be late to everything. You're going to show up unprepared, everybody's waiting on you, that sort of thing. If you show up prepared, locked in, you know your stats for the market, all the comps, you've done your research, right? Things are going to just go better. What other examples do you guys have on a how you do anything is how you do everything kind of concept? You have any examples of that? All right. I can tell that's really landing pretty well there. But just think.
Sorry. I would say having an SOP on everything, just making sure you've got a standard of practice that you do every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like time management, we're talking about that today, right? If you wake up in the morning and you're still in your pajamas by 11 o'clock and, you're not really taking your job seriously, that's probably the outcome of your business and how things are going to look. If you wake up in the morning, teeth are brushed, you've already gone to the gym or whatever your routine is, right? Everything's ready. You got your meal prep for the day. You know, if your routines and your habits in your day is lined up and organized, that's probably how your business is going to look too. And things are going to be more predictable and things are going to be more successful. So that was a quote that I always used. And when I saw the shirt, I was like, I need to buy one of those because I 100% believe that your patterns and how you show up in any situation is how you're going to show up most of the time. So cool. All right, let's get into today's topic. We're talking about building the perfect schedule as a real estate agent. And I've got 1, 2, 3. Oh man, it's hard to count all the top agents I've got in here. People who are highly successful, and we've all got the same 24 hours in a day. Let's talk about how we go about planning our schedule out. Does anybody want to kick this off, or do you guys want me to run with it?
I time block my calendar out. Like I have it blocked out for the duration of my calendar, and I just put in, and it has color coding. I mean, I use Google Calendar, probably both, most of you guys do, and I just color code things out so that way I know, red is whatever listing appointment, and green is the closing, and blue is work related stuff, real estate work related stuff. I mean, that's how I do it. But I block out a lot of times in there so I can fill it in too. But I already know those times are blocked. So that's, for me, that's what I do. That's the easiest. And I stick to it pretty closely.
Let's say, for example, I were going to just kind of do a calendar reset, right? Let's just say that wanted to just redo my schedule to make sure it's the best possible setup for myself. And I've got a blank calendar, Sunday through Saturday. It's clear. What would you guys start with? How would you look at that week? And we're going to repeat these weeks over and over and over again, right? So we want to make sure everything's lined up and we know that it's consistent. What would you guys start with?
The momentum call at 10 a.m.
Nice, Diana. Thank you. I did not pay her to say that, by the way.
I think number one, you've got to have an honest conversation with yourself about what are my non-negotiables. So, we've got to look at this as like there's big rocks, there's little rocks, and there's rocks in between. But my big rocks are my non-negotiables. And frankly, like those probably shouldn't start with business, right? For me, my non-negotiables are I need X amount of family time every day. So I've got that blocked out. And my team asks me a lot, like, well, how do you not work evenings? Da, da, da. Well, I'm busy. I've got things to do. So I work around that. And it's amazing how clients don't mind if you just say, hey, I'm busy. Can we do then? They're fine. But we get in our heads that we need to do exactly what they want when they want. So we chase. And if you're chasing, how can you can't do anything well in my experience. So like once I've got my big blocks, be it family, be it conversations. So like conversations are not non-negotiable. People call it lead generation. I call it conversation because it sounds less scary. I have X amount of conversations every day. I don't care how I do it. If that means I go and sit at a Starbucks, but I guarantee you I'm having X amount of conversations every day. And the easiest way to do that is build a 2-hour block where you do it. Otherwise, sometimes your calendar gets a little messy because you have to kind of chase that. Like, oh shit, I've only got 16. It's 5 o'clock. I need to go do something where I can catch 4. But if you do that and you do the hardest things in the morning, your schedule becomes pretty manageable because by 11 o'clock, you're pretty well done with the hard stuff. Now I just have to manage the benefits from those conversations, which is just going to be transaction management. I'm going to touch base with people. I'm just going to check in, make sure everything's running well. But really that 2-hour block is where your business is going to come from. So if you do nothing else, have 2 hours of conversations every day, you'll probably win.
There's one thing, like I mentioned before, there's one thing that we all have in common, and that's we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But let's just say, for example, we have to admit what is the constant in your schedule? That's you. It's not the conversations. It's not the closings. It's not the showings. It's not the open houses. The constant in the conversation is you. That's why when you put your vision board together, you've got to start with who do I want to be first? Why you're not selling real estate to have money. You're selling real estate to use the money to live the best life possible, right? So you are the vessel. Let's say that you're a boat or an airplane, and you, the airplane, are designed to get somewhere. And wherever that is the end game. That's the goal. It's retirement. It's helping people. It's whatever your big why is. Let me ask you a question. If you're the boat, let's use an airplane for example, because we can probably more of us can relate to airplanes than boats. Let's just say, for example, the airplane arrives at the gate. You're sitting inside, and they're about to load this airplane. What if you knew? What if you knew that they didn't check the equipment between flights? They didn't check the computer. They didn't check any of the little uh, flaps. They didn't check the tire pressure. They didn't check the fuel gauge. What would you do if you knew that was true? Probably wouldn't get on that plane, would you? I'm not getting on that plane if somebody's, hey, they're just throwing luggage in this thing and they're just firing this thing up. Pilots are slamming Red Bulls or whatever, but nobody cares if the plane's ready to go. So do you wake up in the morning, slam a Red Bull, and just pick up the phone? Or do you just start posting on social media or put a camera in your face? Or do you fuel properly? Do you eat? Do you get something in your belly, get some energy for the day? Do you do some push-ups, sit-ups? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a run? Are you taking care of the airplane? Are you spiritually in the right mindset? Are you allowing negative thoughts and depression to creep in? Or are you taking care of your mental health too? So first thing I do on my calendar, if I had a blank space calendar and there's nothing on there, like Amber color codes her calendar, my personal time is purple. It's personal starts with a P, personal starts with a P, personal purple. That's just how I remember it.
That's funny
But
because mine is that pink color. It's like called flamingo, and I always put it as flamingo for fun.
there you go. I love it. And it's like my kid time's on there. My gym time is on there. Any like Sunday dinner is on there. Those are things that matter to me, that I am there, I'm present. And those things they go on my calendar first, and everything else fills in the white space around that. So, your mental health, your financial health, are you doing an audit monthly on your finances? What did I spend? What did I make? Do I need to cut expenses? All these things matter, because if those things aren't in order, your airplane can't fly. And then we move on to the actual flight of the airplane, right? So then TJ's talking about conversations, talking about doing them early in the morning. So what would you guys say is the best time to start your conversations or lead generation if we're building this calendar out? Brett, go ahead.
I usually do like 9:30 to 11:30. That way, if they want to call you back later in the day, they can call back. And then I do the same thing sometimes where I'm like, there's an urgent, like I feel like there's urgent maintenance work I have to do for some of the deals. And if that's the case, then like 9:30, I at least can get started at like 8:30 and knock some of those out. So I don't do the calls and I'm like, crap, I have to do this and that. So it just gives you like, it's not too early, but it's early enough to where you can get some stuff done before it if you need to.
Love it. What else? You guys, you think 9:30 is a healthy time to start? Well, how early is too early?
I'd say like before 8:30. I don't know. Sometimes you catch people on the way to work at 8:30.
Yeah, there you go. People aren't at
So
work
it's
yet.
like they're in a car.
Yeah. If you get to work before they do, that means you get to control the conversation. If they're already at work, like, I don't know, maybe they call you back on the lunch break. Maybe they'll hit you later in the day when you're out at showings or you're busy and that sort of thing. But it's important to, what do they say? Eat the frog, or, do the hard thing first. And it's basically, if you go on offense first thing in the morning and you're sending people text messages, hey, happy birthday, happy home anniversary. Thanks for referring me your sister. We had great showings this weekend. Like you're going out there on offense and you're creating conversations first. It's going back to the airplane analogy. And man, let's not even talk about airports right now, but the airplane analogy. If I schedule a flight early in the morning, the chances of that flight being delayed or canceled or something like that are low, because the day hasn't had a chance to get to that flight yet. But if my flight's at 8 p.m., what if there was a maintenance issue, the crew timed out, somebody called in sick? The earlier in the day you can get the important stuff done, the better, because the less chance is that chaos is going to happen and derail you from the mission, right? Let's see here. Lead generation, a follow up early in the day. I'm going to share my schedule with you guys if that's okay. Getting vulnerable here, showing you guys what's on my calendar. Amber, does that look somewhat familiar?
It does. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Because you talked about color coding your schedule.
Yes, mine does. That's kind of similar to what mine looks like too. Your dark purple though is pretty bright. That's good. I mean, like that's the first thing I noticed.
Good. Because you see, I'm picking the kids up from school. I got, usually Tuesday afternoons are family time for me. If it's green, it means it's a money making opportunity. That's my lead gen. That's an appointment, something like that. If it's orange, it's another obligation that I have, training at the gym or something like that. But you can see here in the blue, like this appointment right here. Check this out. Follow up with leads, prep comps, and prep list. It's one thing to schedule those conversations or like to have time on the calendar. Brett, you were talking about 9:30 to 11:30. Like it's one thing to have that 9:30 to 11:30. What if I sit down at my computer in the morning at 9:30 and I don't even know who I'm talking to, right? Who am I going to reach out to today? What conversations am I starting today? What if I showed up at my computer at 9:30 or 9? I prefer 9. But what if I showed up at my computer and I had a list of 20 people that I needed to reach out to and why I was reaching out to them beside that? All right. That's what this schedule is here in the afternoon. Between 2:30 and 4:30, I'm past my lead gen time and I've not quite made it into showing houses window after people get off work. Right. So this time right here, I'm running comps. If I'm meeting with you this week to price your house or to put you on the market, I'm running comps. I am prepping my list for tomorrow's lead gen activity. Who am I reaching out to? What am I talking to them about? What ideas do I have? If I have videos or social media posts coming up later in the week, that's what I'm doing in that afternoon slot. You can see that I've got that 3 days a week. I don't do it on Tuesdays because that's kid time, but I've got the afternoons built out. And guys, I didn't just make this today for you guys. Like this is every single week except for spring break. That's spring break. Don't even look at that. But every single week, I've got that on there. I got the momentum call every Monday at 10 o'clock. I'm right here with you guys every Monday, even when I'm on vacation. So color coding, the red stuff is stuff that is highly important. And it's usually like a virtual call or something that I'm joining on there. But hopefully that's helpful. But I think, we always want to talk about lead generation and lead follow-up, but we never talk about, hey, when are you actually going to sit down and run those comps? When are you prepping for that meeting? How are you, are you going in prepared? Or are you just going to grab the seller folder and just head on to the appointment? Open to thoughts. You guys talk.
I definitely
Found
put in.
lately.
Oh, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Go ahead, Amber.
Well, I was just going to say with that stuff that you were mentioning about the putting in your time for the comps and all that kind of stuff. I put that's in blue on mine and I put everything that I need to do in there because it's just a good reminder. So whether it's in the notes or in the title, it's like I got to, even if it's just pick up a sign in lockbox, remembering the lockbox code for whatever it was, doing the birthday cards, blah, 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 kind of lump it into that time. And I put it into a time that I know is realistic too. I don't put it in for 15 minutes if I think it's going to take me 30 minutes. I'll put it in for 30 minutes, but then also I better be finished in 30 minutes. Like I'm putting in a realistic time so I work within that time period. I don't know, that's something I do too. Erin is add in all the little work stuff to do that's not lead generation, but you still need to do it.
Well, so I'll cut in there. What you just mentioned, it's called Parkinson's law, right? And that law is all work grows to fill the time allowed. If I give myself 3 hours to lead generate, how on point do you think I'm going to be for that 3 hours? I'm probably going to just kind of lollygag, as my mom would say, lollygag my way through this. If I give myself 90 minutes or even an hour to lead generate, and I've got to make these 20 connections in an hour, I'm going to be on purpose. Versus if I'm giving myself a 3-hour window, I'm going to be on top of it. Right. Here's Amy, you chimed in there for a second.
I will say I've been working on time blocking for, gosh, over a year now. But the one thing I've noticed in the last few months is that I've got to block time out, like you said, getting ready for an appointment, because I tend to like fill up my schedule and then it's like, oh my God, I got this appointment tomorrow. I got to hurry up and do these comps. And then I'm working till, 8 o'clock at night, getting stuff done. And I need to, when I take a listing appointment, block that time out for when I'm going to do those comps. Or when I, if whatever I'm going to do, if there's prep work involved, I got to schedule the prep work too, so that I don't overbook myself.
Absolutely. Those of you with teams, right? Maybe you have an administrative assistant, maybe you have a virtual assistant. Here's what we do, and I love doing this. Is like every week we do a pipeline call or a pipeline meeting during our team meeting on Mondays, right? And we talk about any new buyers that we have. And did we get any new buyers, like actual buyers, not just somebody came through an open house and we're nurturing them, but actually like, hey, we're working with these people now. We go ahead and put together a file like we're about to write a contract this afternoon for them, right? So when it comes time to actually go to show that house and they're ready to make the offer, all I have to do is pull up Dot Loop. You can pull up SkySlope, whatever you guys use to write your offers. You pull it up and it's there. If you have downtime and you're in the afternoon, you have no showings today, you've already written your birthday cards, your house anniversary cards, your thank you cards, you've already done all that stuff, and you're twiddling the thumbs. It's like, oh, I've got 2 buyers that are pre-approved. We already have buyer broker agreements. I'm going to go ahead and write the contract so that all I have to do is put the address and the price on there when the time comes. Like, you're locked and loaded, ready to go. All right. So that's time management. That's huge.
Yeah, I think it's real important to build in flex time. So at least 60 to 90 minutes every day, because that stuff does come up. And what I've noticed, and this is me, we've gotten a lot better at it, but like, I think my memory is better than it is. And like in my mind, I will never forget this. Like, I really think like, hey, I met Brett 3 days ago. Like, I'll never forget Brett. He's looking for this. And like, dude, it's gone. And if I don't get that into the CRM, because usually I'll just write something on a notepad, or I'll look at my notes app and I'll be like, oh shit, that was 3 weeks ago. I met, Dave, and I never even like it. You've got to have a system every day where you're adding people to CRM, because they are gone.
When I worked with a lady back in my old days at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, really sweet. Her name was Karen Snyder. And she was Southern girl. And, we were talking about stuff one day. She goes, honey, I got to tell you, a short pencil is better than a long memory. So she's telling me like, write everything down. It's like, and I took that to heart because it works. Brett, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I actually have the same problem. And so I don't know if everybody else, this, I guess, kind of back to the AI thing. Like, I use ChatGPT all day for random stuff. So I just add a section called reminders. And then anytime that happens, I just go to that chat and say, add call TJ on Monday or Tuesday. And then every day I log in and I'm just like, what do I have today? And it'll do like a rolling list reminder. So I just throw everything in there. It's got a whole list for me every day.
That's solid. I love that. So here's a question for you guys. First question, there's two parts of this. What does it look like to be on purpose with your time?
Sorry, Aaron, can you repeat that question? My husband was yelling upstairs and I didn't hear you.
Damn it, Chris. Come on, Chris.
No, Chris, what are you doing?
Now, the question is, what does it look like for somebody to be on purpose with their time? Describe what how you may interact with that person or how that person shows up.
Like prepared, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, you're prepared. It shows that you've been intentional. You've been putting in the work prior to seeing them. I mean, if you're talking about, like real estate related things or listing appointment or buyer appointment or something like that, and you come in ready to go.
Yeah.
I think, excuse me, I think a big piece of the puzzle we talk about is like and trust. I'm dying, I think. Hang on. Excuse me, I'm alive. So, but trust, if you want someone not to trust you, be disorganized, right? Like, or unorganized, I don't know the difference, but like, if you think about like authority and control, those are typically what dictates trust. It's like, think about it. People trust police officer, they trust the doctor, right? Because they're people of authority. They're dressed right. Like, we've got to come in a position where we have control. And if you're chasing, you're not in control, like, people are going to be very uncomfortable and they're not even going to know why. But we can just feel this from people. So like, it's almost impossible to gain trust if you don't have control. It's like if you're meeting a lot of people, but you're not converting and you're likable, it's a trust issue. And that trust issue is probably built on you not being in control.
Love that.
Can I add something to that, TJ? I think also if you are someone who to earn the trust too, if I mean obviously if you're authentic, it's hard to just tell people be authentic because how do you do that, right? But I think one of the things is if you screw up, you own up to it. If you don't know, you say, I don't know, but I'll find out. I mean, I found that to be helpful, even working in the dental field, with people. I mean, they really have to trust you because you've got, their mouth is it's very vulnerable. People hate going there. And if you're telling them something they can't feel, but you're saying, hey, I see a problem. I mean, but if there's an issue, you also, if something you did screwed up, and if you can admit that you screwed it up and that you did something to fix it, I think that says a lot. I mean, I've experienced that with companies. I had a car problem with a place I bought my car from, and it was during COVID, and they were short on mechanics, and they got the clean bill of health on this car, but it ended up it needed calipers. And I called back to them, and they made it right. And that to me said more about it because they probably weren't going to get my business again. I buy my cars and run them to the ground, and they're also 3 hours away too. So it's unlikely I'm going to send a ton of people back there too. But they still made it right, and so I wrote them a awesome Google review. But I think that's also part of it too. Is like you can make things right. You can own up to what you need to do and say, okay, you know what? Let's move forward. Let's fix this now.
So what Aaron was saying a few minutes ago about like having the control and having the power over the conversation and your schedule and whatnot, one of the things that Diana taught me to do, but I was kind of adding this in because I am a chronic talker and I love to just keep on talking, is telling the person that you're meeting with when you've got to go. Hey, I'm so excited that we're meeting for coffee or whatever. I've got an appointment at 3:30. So like I've got to dip at that time. And it doesn't matter what that appointment is, pick up the kids, do my prospecting, do whatever. If I tell the other person, then they're going to also keep me accountable to not spend the rest of my day just talking to them.
So absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that because that was the next thing that I was going to mention is you show people that you are in control of your time. And the way that you do that, so let's just say agent A says something to their client like this. Oh my gosh, yes, just call me anytime, 24/7, anytime you need me, just give me a call, right? That's agent A. Agent B says, hey, I usually turn the phone off at 9:00 because that's when I, go to bed and start prepping for the evening, unless we're negotiating a contract. So between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., I'm usually available. If I don't answer the phone, I'll call you right back. And then, on Tuesdays, I have a standing appointment at 2:00. Mondays, I have a standing appointment at 10. Outside of that, I'm flexible. Agent B was very clear about their schedule. They had standards around their schedule. Agent A is just call me anytime day or night if you want to. I would say agent B, the one that's in control of their schedule, is now going to be able to call the shots. Yeah, you can always make exceptions on your time. If you want to take a call after 9 or before 9, that's cool. But agent A, call me anytime 24/7, might sound a little desperate. I don't have anything else going on in my life. Call me whenever you want. You're in control. Let's talk about some time sucks. This is going to hurt some of your feelings. You're going to find where you get lost a little bit. What would you guys consider a thing that you do, or that, let's just not call ourselves out here, let's say that people may do, that are a time suck and we can get lost in it?
Social media.
Oh, doom scrolling. Okay. All right. Social media. Anybody else guilty of that? You kind of get lost, forget what you're doing, get trapped in the phone for a little bit, take a little 2-hour vacation. Yeah.
No one's going to admit to that. Come on, guys.
I'm not a liar. I'll admit to it. Anybody ever take a meeting with somebody that like this, the person or the conversation does not directly attach to any of your goals or where you're headed?
Right? I used to do that a lot. And now I'm much more protective of my time. But I used to do that a lot.
What would that look like, though? Who am I meeting with that's not attached to the goals? Like, where do those come from, and what is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, how about like all the lenders that call you? I just want to take you out for coffee, like we can chat, and I think in my early days, I was like, oh yeah, they think I'm doing good things, of course, whatever. But now I'm like, nope, I've got a lender I'm really happy with. Something changes, I'll let you know, but I'm not available. I mean, but yeah, those kind of things I think come up easily. And also people who, I mean, you learn the client, I'll call them clients, customers who want to waste, kind of waste your time too. Every year or so you get something from them. I'm like, yeah, you've been saying that for 8 years.
Yeah, let's talk about a mindset shift really quick. Would you guys show a house to a buyer who's not approved? TJ's, I don't know, maybe.
We have a process of showing one. You give them one and talk with them through what that looks like. Because if they don't know you and they don't trust you yet, they're just trying to go in and see the house. You don't know how you've gotten connected to them necessarily. They might not fully understand what the process is. So then if you give them one and you add enough value in that first appointment, they're going to be like, oh, wow, I should listen to this person. And then they're listening to what you're saying instead of what Google says. And then they're more successful. But if they're not willing to be approved after the first one, it's having that honest conversation with them that says, well, hey, I really appreciate that you want to go out and see all these homes, but I would hate for this to be a tease. And you actually, like, that home actually is not an option for you because of whatever reasons you can drum up, right? And then you provide a little more value to them, help them better understand. And if they're still not willing to get pre-approved, it might not be a good fit.
Yeah, TJ mentioned he considers lead generation simply creating conversations. And if I'm meeting somebody face to face, maybe I don't have the tightest relationship with the person yet. I'll meet them out at the house. We'll have a conversation, but that is a huge opportunity. There's no more personal than you can get with somebody than being face to face with them. It's better than phones, better than text, better than email. Face to face with somebody, and then you hit them right between the eyes with the question. It's like, hey, I'm really enjoying this conversation and I want to work with more people like you. Who else do you know who might be thinking about buying a home that I could help right now? There you go. Use it as a conversation starter, lead generation, train them to send you people, right?
And we also know, like, how busy you are, right? If you're not busy, you get out in front of people, and I think Allison's right. Want a freebie? I think if you're a successful agent, that's reasonable. But like, dude, get out in front of people. The other thing is, like, we have tools, right? We have Forewarn. So I can look up your number. I can find out where you live. If you're living in a $500,000 house, am I going to look at that a little bit differently than somebody who may be renting right now? Like, not everything fits into a box, but bottom line is, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you go find somebody to talk to. And if they're calling you, that's a pretty good opportunity.
You get out there and you find that dog. That's a Billy Madison quote. Sorry about that one. What about getting trapped in long-winded conversations? Allison has self-admitted that she might like to talk a little bit, right? But she also has control over her actions and she's recovering from that. That's cool. But do you ever get on the phone with somebody, maybe call a past client, or you're doing a little prospecting, just reaching out to your database, and somebody just wants to talk about the weather? They're out there. They want to tell you about everything. How do you handle somebody, whether it's in person or over the phone, who man, you know what? I like this person. It's not that I dislike them. It's just, I got to go. How you handle that?
I mean, I'm pretty direct with him. I'm like,
I knew it was you, Amber. I knew it.
because I could get trapped in this too. But and also I think, not to go back to dental, but we had a pretty strict schedule we had to keep to. So, and you would have those patients who hadn't seen somebody in a week. Now you're their personal therapist for an hour. And but you had to be, you just kind of learn to be direct. And it's usually peppered with a compliment too. Listen, I could talk to you all day, Aaron. I love our conversations, but I got a meeting in about 10 minutes and I got to prep for that. So let's catch up another time. We'll put it on the schedule. But I'll let you go for now. I usually just, yeah. I love Allison. First step is admitting the problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just I learned this from, I think it was my sister, and she did this to somebody one time, and she said, "Hey, look, I don't want to be rude, but I've got to be somewhere. Can we talk another time?" And she basically says, "I don't want to be rude." It's almost like saying "bless your heart" to somebody. It's like, it's just, you're just putting it out there. I don't want to be rude. I got to be somewhere, and it's kind of okay to say it that way.
And also I like when people say it to me,
Yeah,
because
it's respect.
well, and also it reminds me, like, shut up, Amber.
Yeah. The other thing, I think a lot of real estate agents we love to help people, right? We know a lot of stuff. We got deep resources, and we just love to help people. But sometimes we just got to realize, like, why the hell am I talking right now? Like, should I just say what needs to be said and, keep things moving? All right. What else? Anything else on time management that we may have left out? Maybe something that you do or you're struggling with that we could chat on here?
You kind of mentioned it, but the one other layer for me is a monthly review. And that monthly review, with regard, like you said, your budget and whatnot, but also what do I have going on in the next month that I need to prepare for? Like, you have a vacation coming up. So the week of your vacation, you're probably not going to be prospecting. Okay. So is cutting out that week's worth of prospecting still going to leave you enough prospecting time this month to make your conversations? Or do you need to double down the week before? And just identifying where your time is going to be pulled, because I mean, you all on this call are doing things like you're speaking and you're running calls like this, and you're um, doing lots of other obligations. And if you have a week that it's particularly heavy, you may need to adjust your focus in weeks prior or weeks after. So making sure you have a full scope of the month, because if you have one off day, you can absolutely pick that up with the remainder of the time you have left.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the best hitters in the Major League Baseball only hit 333. They're only hitting the ball one out of every 3 or 4 times. So if you have a bad week, it doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad month. It just means you just need to pick it up somewhere before or after, right?
I'll tell you one more thing because Allison just made me think of something. If you are going on vacation, there's nothing more disrespectful to a client than what we call the cold handoff, right? Where you've got somebody covering your business, but you haven't told them anything about your clients. Like, before you go on vacation, make sure you sit down with the agent covering you and give them tell them where they are in the process, who they are, and it'll be much smoother and the people won't feel like you just kind of dump them off. Um, yeah, that's a little 20 minutes really well spent in my experience.
Absolutely. Um, it's not on my calendar, but every single weekend I look out at the week ahead, and I'm out there hunting. I am trying to cancel appointments like you wouldn't believe, because I know that I put stuff on my calendar that's like, why did I accept that coffee meeting with that person? What are we even going to be talking about? I don't even know the context of this meeting. So I'm looking for something. Can I shift an in-person meeting to a Zoom call? Can I make it a phone call? Can we shorten this up? How can I find more time to go play golf with my kid? How can I find more time to dance in the basement with Olivia? How can I find more time to pour into my why? And if I'm doing more things purposeful, I can find time to do my stuff more of what I want to do. So Saturdays and Sundays are my time. I look out at the week ahead because I've added so much to my calendar. And then that's where I go color code stuff. Everything's blue until I change it to purple or green or whatever. So I don't know what that day looks like for you. Maybe it's early in the morning on Monday. You know, you're having your coffee, the week's starting off before the momentum call, and you're going through your calendar and you're color coding stuff. If you use paper, grab yourself 4 highlighters. You need a green one, a yellow one, a pink one, blue, whatever. And you're going through there color coding your paper calendar if that's your comfort zone. I use Google Calendar because I can change it anytime, and it reminds me what's going on. My paper calendar is probably sitting in the back seat of my truck, and I have no idea. I haven't looked at it in 3 weeks. Google Calendar's in my face all day, every day. It is 10:47. Next Monday is what? That the 30th? Is that right? 29th, 30th, something like that. So next week is Tech Week, right? We've got, this week was a skill or mindset. Next week is Tech Week, and I've got a few friends. Marcy, who's on the call right now, she and her brother founded a company called Home Handoff, and it's about how to really take the details of a home and get it into the buyer's hands. Things like all sorts of stuff. Who have the contractors been that have worked on this house? When were all the things replaced? So basically take the seller's property disclosure and all the information in there, and then throw like utility providers and all of the who the neighbors are and all this stuff, right? So she's going to be on next week to talk for about 10 minutes. Derek Caldwell is going to be on. You know, he's our resident tech guy. I'm sure he loves being called that, but he's going to be on to talk about a project that he's really been working on deeply for a while. And then I'm going to say a few words about Matt Dill's project that he's been working on. So show up next Monday at 10 o'clock. Marcy, Derek, and myself will be talking about some tech things that you can apply to your business, or at least learn about to see if you want to explore them more. So anything else? You guys good? You ready to go out and crush it for this week? Let's go. Let's go. All right. Have a good week. Come back, share some good news next Monday. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you guys.